alternative experience.
The alternative experience.
The alternative experience.
Hey guys, Natural Health Nut here. Welcome to this week's alternative experience. So it's summer, it's hot. So what's the most effective way to cool down? Well, depending on where in the world you are at the moment, no doubt it's quite hot right now. Apologies to UK followers, of course. Now, last week, the temperature gauge consistently hit 43 degrees here up in the hills of the Algarve, which even actually had my Brazilian friends struggling a bit. While they're obviously used to dealing with this kind of problem, I did give them some advice on the most effective way to cool off. Now, at first, they were pretty suspicious. What could this white boy from cold, rainy Britain really teach them about managing the heat? But rather surprisingly, within a few days, each of them went out of their way to thank me for this game-changing information. And due to this anecdotal validation, I thought I'd write an article on the subject. So what is the most effective way to cool off as far as science and our very biology are concerned? So let's say you've just been for a mid-morning run. Let's say the sun's up, so your temperature is climbing too. Now, if I were to give you a cold, wet towel or an ice pack, what would you do with it? If you were to say, put it over your head or around your neck, you would be very wrong. While it may undoubtedly feel as though this gives you some kind of reprieve, this approach is highly ineffective. But why? So, similar to your home, you have a built-in thermostat which is located in your head. More precisely, the preoptic anterior hypothalamus. While it's involved in many different functions, importantly, it does control your sort of temperature regulation. Now, studies have shown that when the temperature in your head decreases, it sends signals to the rest of the body that you may need to warm up. Similarly, if you wear a hat, for example, in warm weather, that's going to raise the temperature of your head, which then will send out signals to the body that it may need to cool down. Now, I say may. It doesn't just rely on the temperature of your head. Ingeniously, it does also collect data from all of your body's surface in kind of an attempt to build up as clear a picture of your body temperature as it can. So while submerging in an ice bath or placing cold towels on the skin surface may feel good, it actually ends up having the opposite effect on your core temperature. So to explain this, I'm going to use an analogy which I like. So let's say your home is too hot, but rather than turn down the thermostat, you decide you're going to cover it with a cold, wet towel. Now, this naturally leads to a reduction in the temperature being recorded on the thermostat, and in turn, the heating is actually going to kick in. And this is exactly what happens when you place a cold, wet towel on the majority of your body. Now, another reason this approach is pretty counterproductive is we have 3 natural portals around the body, and they're dedicated to temperature regulation and the cooling of excess heat. And when we apply cold to the majority of our body, this actually acts as a vasoconstrictor. And this closes and constricts blood vessels, which further restricts access to these portals, and that reduces your body's natural ability to regulate its temperature. So now you understand your body's internal thermostat. What's the best way to cool down? Which area or areas of the body should we be focusing our attention on with that cold, wet towel? So to explain this, let's go back to those previously mentioned portals. If you were to have said the soles of your feet, give yourselves a pat on the back. If you said the palms of your hands, again, it's time to congratulate yourself. And if you said your upper cheekbones, you're also correct. But why are these 3 areas so effective? Well, you've probably noticed at some point in your life that the skin in these areas is very different to the skin covering the rest of your body. It's called glabrous skin, which simply means no hair. So on the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet specifically, it's also a lot thicker than the skin around the rest of your body. So if you look really closely, the skin on your feet and hands has these unique patterns and ridges, which we obviously call fingerprints and footprints. Now, these ridges have purposes other than helping forensics experts to solve crimes. They are in fact there to help you to grip objects and to stop your skin from ripping. Now, with all the tasks that these body parts have to perform, such as walking, gripping, picking things up, they naturally get a lot of use, and as a result, the thicker Hairless skin allows them to sort of endure more friction without the risk of getting damaged. Now, as mentioned as well, glabrous skin is hairless. That's because these are the only 3 areas of the human body which don't physically have hair follicles. Now, that's obviously all great, but what has this got to do with temperature control? Well, these 3 areas are the aforementioned portals that our bodies rely upon for optimal temperature regulation. You've no doubt tested this theory kind of instinctively by putting your foot out from under the covers if you get too hot in bed. Now, this is due to special blood vessels which are void of capillaries, and they're present just below this glabrous surface. Now, when these blood vessels are properly dilated, this does actually allow for the mass cooling of blood as it circulates around this area. And these blood vessels are only present in the soles of the feet, the palms of the hands, and to a slightly lesser extent, the upper cheekbones. While they're also glabrous in nature, the skin around the cheekbones is not generally as thick as the feet or hands, and you don't really get cheek prints. So it's not the same. But the cheeks are one of the last areas of the body that blood will flow before it makes its way back to the heart, and it does this via a short kind of detour through vessels located at the top of your skull. Now, when you're overheating, it's important to note that the blood that makes it to your scalp will actually reverse and travel back down to your cheeks, further perpetuating your elevated temperature. However, if you're able to cool this blood at the cheekbones, not only does this positively affect the temperature of the blood around the skull, ensuring optimal flow back to the source, it also ensures it's cooled before it enters the heart and begins yet another journey around your body, and this just compounds its cooling effects exponentially. So now you understand the best way to reduce your core temperature. Can this be optimized to boost your performance? Well, yes, it can. So there's a large body of research beginning to emerge on both the benefits of cold water therapy, but more interesting is the research into the effects of cooling the palms of your hands during exercise, and the results are actually astounding. So when it comes to cold water therapy, the cold plunge, it seems pretty conclusive that your performance can be improved when you practice it pre-workout. So by reducing your starting core temperature, this in theory can give you a little extra over your standard workout or sporting performance, but it can also be used up very quickly due to any elevated effort. Now, further research undertaken on competitive cyclists found that those that wore gloves have a reduced overall performance in heat regulation, and this is something that's further observed in those that simply gripped the handlebars too tightly. Now, this research has been taken even further into the gym. In a medium-sized human control study, the following was observed based on the amount of dips that were performed by its participants. In one example, which was highly representative of the overall results, a participant from the control group recorded the following. On day 1, he performed his usual dip regimen, managing 43 in his first set of reps, resting for 3 minutes, then 32 in his second set. On day 2, he practiced these dips, resting for 3 minutes in between each set, while also reducing the temperature of his palms with a specifically designed device. Now, he managed 45 in set 1, small improvement no doubt due to the crowd watching and maybe a bit of bravado, but interestingly he also managed 45 in set 2, which was quite a big improvement on the previous day's attempt. Now, he continued this every day, improving each time, and by day 5 he was doing 2 sets of 150. That's over a 200% increase in less than a week, and this was something that was mirrored in most of the participants. Another observable yet unexpected benefit was that in the control group, no post-workout muscle fatigue was experienced by any of the participants, i.e., there was no residual muscle soreness in the days following, despite such a large growth in overall activity, yet many of the non-control group did report such fatigue. This seems to be directly affected by the vasodilation and improved blood flow which occurred when the palms were optimally cooled. Now, I'm going to put this one to the test myself in the coming weeks, so keep an eye out for the results on that one. I've been stuck on 45 dips for the last 2 years, and I'm determined to improve upon this if I can. So whether you're looking to increase your athletic performance or you just want to cool down on a hot summer's day or night, Remember to focus on the glabrous areas of skin and avoid the cold towels if you can. Focus on turning the thermostat down. Don't just cover it with a cold wet towel. Hope you enjoyed the show, guys. Until next week, adios, good vibes. Thanks, guys.